Welcome to the Nick and Rob Homer Hour, and we've got a strange episode today because Rob is out of town. I couldn't find any other guests to join the show, and I am going to try to do it solo. So if you get anybody jumping in on the comments or anything like that, please jump in, join in, and I'll definitely going to answer any sort of questions that you have, and I'll be able to, get a little banter back and forth. So if you ever want to go to a stream and just talk to the host, this is your opportunity because I am on my own. Rob will be back next week. As for the show itself, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have the Dallas Renegade Rundown, and we're going to talk about the Renegades not looking too good yet again, this time against DC Defenders. And after that, we'll break down the Homer Headlines, where we're going to go over all the other UFL games, get a reaction, and I'm doing something a little special for this one. My game plan is to have the highlight the best play of each of those games, and I'm going to show you a clip of that. And my good friend Chris Paul made an appearance on Sunday, and I just did a simple little interview. He's a huge Houston Gamblers fan. He's going to be jumping in, and I have a little clip of that speech or of that interview. He's going to jump in and then get his insights on what exactly the Gamblers are looking like and can they improve later. And then after that, we're going into other sports. And I'll tell you what, the Cowboys are making some headlines right now with the ESPN documentary. I'm going to talk about that. And then Usri, the Mavericks' new president, I'll go into that discussion. Unfortunately, for any Boston fans that are going to be joining the show, I don't have much for Boston sports. Sorry for the Celtics, but it's mainly going to be Dallas-driven since Rob's not here to defend himself. So let's go ahead and kick it off. We're going to go do the Renegade Rundown and break down what exactly happened to the Renegades against the DC Defenders. Yes, the Renegades ended up losing again, this time to the DC Defenders. It's going to be 3 games in a row to the Louisville Kings, the Aviators, and now the Defenders. Now, this one, on the other hand, is a little bit more respectful, at least to the team that they lost to, the other two being losing teams. The DC Defenders are probably favored to be the champion at this point, and I haven't checked the sports book, but I'm going to go ahead and make that a sure thing. It was a terrible game. They ended up losing a 24 to 6 against the DC Defenders, and it was just a travesty of a game. It started off really bad. The first half, they ended up scoring 24 points, the DC Defenders did, and the Renegades ended up scoring nothing. The defense did end up stepping up, and I will give them some credit for that because in the second half, the DC Defenders didn't score again. So we got to give the Renegades some credit on that aspect of it. But overall, terrible performance, late start. And one thing about a Fred Kai's offense that you have to watch out for is he is going to dwell on running the football. And I got to give it to the Renegades. They ended up stopping that. They stopped it at 81 yards total for the game. So mission accomplished there. But the problem is they could not stop Teamu, who is on an MVP race right now. He's he went 20 for 28, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns with 1 interception, and weird fluky interception too. That was a bizarre game. And ended up playing really well. In fact, we've got one of the big touchdowns that happened. This is Cornell Powell, who ended up scoring a one-handed touchdown from one of those TDs from Teamu.
Halliday, the running back. Tamu directing traffic. Oh, the one-handed catch. Cornell Powell. Yes, sir.
Yes, it was a really big play, and Teamu did a really good job and really cut up the Renegades all game long. So the big thing that a lot of people are looking at, Austin Reed didn't have a great day again. He went 22 for 41, 258 yards, and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And it was a terrible, terrible interception. And didn't really look too good. I mean, he was, again, falling for the same thing that he did last week, where he seemed to go to one read and staring at his wide receivers, and then he ended up paying the price as a result. But I don't actually blame this game. My intake of this game is not going to be on Austin Reed. I actually blame a lot of this on Neuheisel, because the DC defenders, Blake Williams, I mean, I've been watching spring football with the Williams family running this defense for quite some time, since they were in the XFL. And the DC defenders love to blitz. And Neuheisel didn't do simple concepts that beat the blitz easily, and that would be bubble screens, short passes, very intermediate passes. And it looked like he was trying to go deep all day, and it was not good, especially for an Austin Reed that had a terrible 4-interception game last week. You'd think maybe you would let Austin Reed get some short dink and dunk passes and just beat the blitz all game long. And he just didn't end up doing that. Overall, poor performance. I'm going to go with Neuheisel just not having a good game. If I had to put blame on this one, I'm going with Neuheisel on this. It's not going to be on Austin Reed. Yes, he had a terrible performance, but man, I think the coaching staff should have helped him out through that game. That's about all I got for the Renegade Rundown. I don't have too much going on over there. Normally I do a beanie breakdown. Didn't have time to this week, but we'll do that next week for sure. We'll go ahead and kick it off into the Homer headlines and talk about what happened throughout the week for the UFL. We're going to start it off talking about the Battlehawks playing against the Louisville Kings in a crazy win with Harrison Frost, not Luis Perez, beating the Louisville Kings 16-3. It was a fun game, very exciting game. 6 total sacks for the Battlehawks. You had one from Jordan Williams, one from Travis Feeney, 2 from Peta, not too shocking there. He's a pretty good player. And then one from Carlos Davis, ex-Nebraska player, by the way, and one from Leonard Payne. They were in the backfield all game long, giving them hell to the Louisville Kings. And another thing is the Kings just could not run the ball. Kings ended up going 13 attempts, only 12 yards for the day, and completely abandoned it because they were just falling too far behind, and they needed to try to catch up, being down by 2 scores. Overall, just a bad game for the Louisville Kings. Their offensive line is terrible. They haven't been able to run the ball all year long in the UFL, and that ended up being the case this time. The only time they were able to run the ball was against the Dallas Renegades, and that's it. So good on you, Renegades, for allowing that to happen. The one thing about the Battlehawks is their defense looks like it's getting a lot better. The front seven's looking really good, and they held their opponents back now 20 points back-to-back games. So I like in their secondary. I like the way they're stopping the run, and they're looking a lot better all throughout the year. So we're going to see if it's going to continue to improve, but right now I'd put the Battlehawks as a stout defense. Luis Perez did not get the start, and the big question that I have for this, how I'm finishing it up, is Luis Perez ever going to get the start? It looks like A.J. Smith, I think he likes him some Harrison Frost. He only had 1 interception and was in the second quarter, went 22 for 40, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he seems like he's getting those interceptions down a lot better than he did earlier in the season. So Harrison Frost, young, athletic, and they run a run-and-shoot style offense with A.J. Smith. I'm starting to believe that Harrison Frost might be taking this thing over, and I'm starting to think Luis Perez might not see the field. I hope I'm wrong. I think they're going to be better off with Luis Perez, but I'm a little upset with that over there. Another big thing is his 2 touchdowns didn't go to Hakeem Butler. It ended up going to Gary Jennings and Stephen McBride with the TDs. And although Butler had a really good game, 3 receptions for 43 yards, it was he was throwing it to other people out there too. So it was quite exciting for sure. This is the big McBride touchdown. I really loved the way Harrison Frost zipped it in there, and I came across as this was the big play of the game.
Down to 9. Frost to the end zone, leaping grab, touchdown, Stephen McBride.
It was a pretty crazy play. It looked like McBride was covered all throughout, and Frost ended up having to throw over that defender to actually get that touchdown, and I thought he did a wonderful job on that end. Big game overall for the Battlehawks. The Louisville Kings, on the other hand, I got to tell you, yeah, they're out. They're out. Their offensive line is garbage. I don't even blame – sometimes I blame the quarterback when it comes to – bad offensive line play. Sometimes I blame the coaching staff. I actually don't think Chris Redmond's doing a bad job with this team. It's just not. This offensive line's just not there. And I don't like to be blaming them when they're just awful, but they cannot run the ball worth a damn all year long. And it didn't look like Rodgers had plenty of time. Despite all that, Rodgers actually ended up having an all right game. He went 15 for 32. 199 yards and only threw one interception. Not great, but he ended up having a pretty solid game, and I was pretty he looks like he's not the problem. I think they're fine in the quarterback position. I just think their offensive line is just garbage, and it's just showing over there. Really stinks because I think they had the talent, especially on the defensive side, to actually make the playoffs, but it's clear as day they're running out of time, and you cannot keep losing games like this. They're way too far back in the standings, and they're probably going to be the first one that's going to get ousted on this game. The next game that we ended up talking about was the Houston Gamblers against the Aviators. Henderson had a really big game against the Aviators last week, and he ended up winning the game. And McGlendon, on the other hand, had a huge fumble that ended up costing them the game. And I've been calling it the Henderson roller coaster and the McGlendon roller coaster because it seems like every time they have a good game, they have a bad game, and then a good game after that. Henderson actually did not play that bad. He went 5 for 6, 38 yards passing and 37-yard. Had a big 37-yard rush too, and that's going to be his talent, the bread and butter that he's going to have to do. He's going to have to be able to run the ball for this offense to be efficient anywhere for the Gamblers. But the problem with him is right before the second half, he ended up having a big injury, and they went with Toli, Tua's brother, and he went 6 for 10, 65 yards. Big touchdown. I'll give him that. It was a big touchdown, but in the end, didn't make a difference. They were way too far behind, and the score reflected that pretty quickly. The Houston Gamblers ended up losing 17-24 against the Aviators, and Gamblers, I thought, played pretty well, but the Aviators doing the back-to-back, it's just tough to win back-to-back games. And the fact that you were going up in Columbus, which is actually a ruckus crowd, reflected that. And Tay Martin had a really big play for the Aviators as well. McGlendon, bounced back right after that fumble the previous week, went 20 for 26, 188 yards, 1 touchdown. I'd say that's a hell of a performance. And Trey Martin, 6 receptions for 104 yards. Big game for him, too. So he looked like the easy runaway player to end up playing really well for the Aviators. Now, I did actually have an interview with a Gamblers fan. This is Chris Paul. He's a friend of mine, not the Chris Paul that you guys think of. And he actually talked a little bit about the quarterback situation for the Gamblers and if that's to blame for the reasons why the Gamblers have been struggling this season. Take a look. Looking at performance of the Gamblers, I've got a lot of opinions on their whole quarterback situation. You got McGlendon just gone, even though you finally found your quarterback. I think he was a really good quarterback. Then you get this musical chairs of quarterbacks, and the one team that I think needed it the most was the Houston Gamblers, didn't get it. How do you feel the UFL's treated the quarterback situation for the Gamblers this season? Because I think it's just been unfair. And I'm saying UFL because I think the UFL is really involved in these trades. I don't think teams were just willy-nilly wanting to trade away these players. I think the UFL just wanted to even out the product. What do you think, though? Do you think the Gamblers got the shaft there?
Yeah, I'll start by saying some of my tune has sort of changed over the last few years when it comes to what's important to winning in the UFL. And I think so. Again, our colleague or person, or the person who kind of started, you and me in podcasting was Coach Kobo, and he always issued the importance of coaching. Being a coach himself, he felt that was the most important thing. And so I think in the UFL, where you don't have necessarily as many kind of stud players, like elite players, you don't have as many of those guys. Kind of your scheme and the way that you coach becomes the most important thing. So the way that they dispersed the coaching staff in this year, I think, was a little more impactful than the way they coached, than the way they spread out the quarterback situation. So we'll talk about the quarterback situation, but I want to talk about the coaching spread for a second because we got a guy back who used to coach got Kevin Sumlin back essentially to kind of come back and coach the team. He was coaching in, I believe, the US. He was coaching. Was he coaching? I think he was the first coach of the Gamblers in the USFL prior to them switching coaches. So we got back Kevin Sumlin, which again is a legit coach, but he has some of his own issues. And then you've got a guy like Anthony Becht, who was doing a great job there at St. Louis. He gets moved. And now we're starting to see in the UFL all these they're trying to do something where they're trying to find players who were impactful in their markets, either in the past or in the recent past. So that's why you got AJ McCarron now coach of the Stallions, because he had success in the UFL. And they gave him kind of a shot. You got Ted Ginn coaching the Aviators, crazy coaching choice, no coaching experience that I'm aware of, and becoming that head coach. Anthony Becht moves over to Orlando, and look at how Orlando's doing right now.
Pretty good.
And so those types of moves, I think, were more impactful. Now for the quarterback situation, I'm not necessarily feeling like a guy like I feel like a guy like Nolan Henderson can win in this league. For those who may have seen it last week, we had, Tagovailoa, Tua's brother at quarterback last week, and he got hurt. We put in John Trey Kirkland for the game-winning drive at quarterback for the final drive to go for the win. And so we're like, okay, just put in your most athletic, fastest player, and have them run around and play quarterback. And I think you could succeed in the UFL with that kind of mindset. But guys that are succeeding this year, you got your stalwarts with Jordan Teamu, still killing it. Brandon Silvers is in the league. He was back. He was a former Houston Roughneck. You got Austin Reed kind of doing his thing. You got Jake. I want to say Jake Plummer, but it's Jack Plummer for Orlando, who's got like 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. So there are guys we've never heard of before who are doing really, really well in this league, in addition to some of the people that we're aware of. But as Houston Roughnecks, we saw what Nolan Henderson was, and there is a growth. And I've seen you talk about him on the podcast, and you're a fan. Overall, I think maybe you're the way that it's kind of the last episode you talked about how your opinion kind of changed on him, and he did decent.
I call it the Henderson roller coaster. It's like, Is this going to be a good one or a bad one? I don't know, because he's got arm strength, he's athletic, he can be accurate if he's choosing to be, and then he'll have weird games where he just throws a bunch of picks. So it's live by the Henderson, die by Henderson. That's what I say. And us Houston fans, we always refer back to the Houston Roughnecks when it was when you had PJ Walker, and he kind of came out of obscurity. We didn't know what we were going to get. So I think with a lot of these quarterbacks, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, because you got Tagovailoa, who has the name recognition, big time college quarterback, didn't necessarily do the greatest in college, but he's got kind of that legacy, that he can play the game. So not necessarily, again, you're always kind of excited. I would rather have a guy that I don't know what he's capable of, as opposed to a guy where I kind of know what he's capable of, some of those bigger names that come into the league. So I do think getting a new exciting guy who hasn't made the NFL yet, I think that's a good thing for the UFL, whether you're whether you like them or not. Yeah. And I'm right there with you. And Austin Reed jumps onto the scene and takes Luis Perez's job, which I condoned. I said, you know what? If he's got something, he's got something. Young, trying to get into the NFL. I thought that was a good candidate, and he's got NFL credential. Like, he can throw the football very far, and he's capable of making it to the NFL if his head gets right. I don't know if he's making the right decisions lately, and it's been pretty bad over there. But obviously, I'm going to gravitate towards the big names, like you just said, though. I love Luis Perez. I love watching him go, and I don't understand why the St. Louis Battlehawks aren't starting him. I guess they're really loving Harrison Frost. That's another live-by, die-by guy. And I think Luis Perez would be the sure thing, and I want to see him play because that would be like me having a second team to cheer for. I would have a reason to cheer for the Battlehawks. So overall, though, you're thinking, look, quarterback play is one thing. They're going to come and go. We'll figure that part out. It's mainly about the coaching, and that the coaching is just way too inconsistent. And these changes, like Ted Ginn Jr., Chris Redman, these new coaches that have never done it before as a head coach, jumping into the scene and all of a sudden trying to get these athletes, it's just not. You're going to get what you get.
And you see where they are in the standings too, as new head coaches. Again, it's not necessarily they're bad head coaches. Maybe they will be one day. Anthony Becht was a new head coach, at one point in the UFL. And so I think, not that they can't get there, but at least in year one, I think that's the most important thing to look at when you're looking at some of these trends.
And I'll tell you what, I think he's spot on. I think it's got more to do with coaching. I think Nolan Henderson is a pretty good player overall. He should be able to do it. I do feel really bad for Nolan Henderson because he's been plagued with injuries all throughout the year. So we'll see if the Houston Gamblers can respond. I think Tolley ended up playing a lot better. He threw that big touchdown pass. So the Houston Gamblers can end up being something. Hopefully it just improves over for the Houston Gamblers. The big play that I clipped out for this one is my favorite running back for the Aviators, and it's a strange one, but I just love watching Saquandre White run the football, and this is his big touchdown play against the Gamblers.
First and goal at the 8. White to the 5. White to the end zone. Touchdown. Saquandre White, and Columbus put 6 more on the board.
He's so big. And he runs the ball so fast. He can leap over people. I just love watching him play. Now, he didn't end up having that great of a game, but for the most part, just give him the ball. I think he needs to get it over Taoa, and he should be the starting running back from here on out. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I don't know. He's my guy. He's the one that I like to cheer for the most. So we got the Houston Gamblers and St. Louis Battlehawks, and this is the big one, everyone. This is the huge one. So the Birmingham Stallions end up pulling off the upset, beating the Orlando Storm, who were 4-1 heading into this game, but back-to-back losses for the Orlando Storm. And crazy game because DTR just dished it out. He played really well through the game. He was giving the Orlando Storm problems all throughout it. He was really exciting to watch, scrambling from the pocket. I mean, I got this one play from DTR that I really loved, and I saw all over Twitter that they liked. This is the big one that seems to be trending, is that big throw.
7-yard pickup to Snoop Connor.
One right here.
2nd and 3. Dorian Thompson-Robinson using his feet, throws on the run, wide open on the sideline. It's Jaden Mickens with a move. Mickens on the chase and down near the 10.
Scrambling out of the pocket, doing a really wonderful job out there, and I really love watching DTR play. I mean, I think this is going to be a game changer for the Stallions, and I expect them to actually win some more games overall. But that wasn't the play that really got me excited about DTR. This was a strange one, and if I had to do a beanie breakdown, this is probably the one I would do, just because I like a quarterback that jumps in, rolls his sleeves up, and gets involved in blocks. And this play right here.
7-yard pickup to Snoop. Connor makes a move, and Snoop breaking tackles. He's in for the touchdown.
I mean, pancake block against a linebacker was from a quarterback is just amazing, and you can always sign me up for that. I always like my Brett Favre, Josh Allen types. Yeah, they might get hurt sometimes, but overall, just fun, exciting to watch, and that will galvanize the team for sure. A lot of this has to do with the Orlando Storm, though, losing the game like this, because one thing about the Orlando Storm that has been consistent all year long is they have had slow start after slow start and fallen behind 14-0. Last week, they fell behind 24-0. They dig themselves into these holes and then all of a sudden start playing better. No, they did not run the ball too well, but not Jake Plummer did almost bail him out. I mean, he went 26 for 37, 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. Huge day for KJ Hamler, who had a big game, 7 receptions, 114 yards. And Rob, if he's listening, knows this. I always like myself some Roland, who had 4 receptions, 42 yards, short, shifty wide receivers. I will always be a fan of, and he ended up having a pretty big game, jack of all trades. But it was too little, too late. Their defense ended up stopping the Stallions in the second half. I mean, they only allowed 6 points in the second half, and they were just too far behind, though. If you spot them 14 points, games like this are going to happen. DTR went 19 for 27, 271 yards, and 1 passing TD. Top receiver, by the way, had a huge game. Justin Ross, I would say receiver of the week this week. 7 receptions for 135 yards and 1 touchdown. Huge game for him. Orlando Storm, they got to step it up. And I actually blame a lot of this on Anthony Becht for not getting his team galvanized, ready to go from the get-go, because they have fallen behind to the Louisville Kings. They have fallen behind against bad teams all across. They shouldn't have lost this game, and they ended up losing it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the players were just not up and ready for this. Maybe they didn't respect their opponent, but they've done this for 6 weeks straight. So Orlando Storm, if you're going to continue having these bad starts, especially if you're heading into the playoffs, and if Anthony Becht has one problem in his coaching career, he doesn't do well in the playoffs. So he's got to step it up on that end of it. If they can actually have a strong start to these games, they're going to end up winning it because they have plenty of talent. They have a great wide receiving core. They have a great running back with Corbin. I love not Jake Plummer. He's doing really well this year, and he could possibly be an MVP candidate if he keeps it going at this pace. But you can't spot your team 14 points. You just can't do it week in and week out, and it's just going to end up being a big loss for them. Big, huge win on this show. If you ever watch us, we dogpile AJ McCarron on this whole entire thing. We give him a hard time, and I'm sure if Rob was here, he would say the same thing. We got to give him where credit is due, give him some sort of credit for this game, because he did end up playing a lot. He ended up coaching a lot better. I don't know if he galvanized the team. I'll tell you one thing, winning cures all, and if you don't believe me, just watch this clip at the end of the game when he addresses his
Unbelievable
team.
job of playing a full 60-minute game. We talked about it last night. Throttled down the entire time. Did shit go perfect for us? No. But defense, hell of a damn job today. What, 3, 4 turnovers, whatever it was, right? Hey, if we work on our hands, we'll probably have about 4 more, right? Offense. Hey, made a ton of plays when we needed. That's a great job. Listen, we build off this. You understand me? Build. This is what we talked about, winning out. All right? You take this, we learn from our mistakes, and keep building. Yes, you understand? Yes, we're 1-0 again next week. Let's go.
I mean, winning does cure all. If you start winning football games, you're going to get behind whoever the coach is, and I think that's going to be the case for AJ McCarron. I like what I saw from him. I thought that was a really good response at this, and you could tell it meant a lot to him, because it wasn't just me, it wasn't just Rob, it was the entire UFL has been dogging on him this entire year, and I still have my concerns of him being the head coach of this team, but when you get a big win against the Orlando Storm like that, you got to give him credit, and I'm going to give him some credit. Congratulations, AJ McCarron, on that. You know, we're calling balls and strikes here on Nick and Rob Homer Hour, and you know, that was a strike. That was a hell of a performance by AJ McCarron. And with DTR, who knows? Who knows what this team could do? They could possibly make it. They have a big game up against the Renegades too. So, you know, one more win and they're in the playoff spot. And because of teams like Orlando Storm falling apart and the Renegades falling apart. Other teams might be able to jump in this thing, and we'll talk about the standings here when we get to the picks. And I think we're about there, actually. So we're going to go ahead and make the picks, do a little intro heading into that, and we'll see where Rob is doing compared to me. He was 4 games behind before. Let's see if he actually caught a little up with me in this Making Picks with Nick and Rob segment.
Making Picks with Nick and Rob! Nick and Rob! Their picks might be a hatchet job. Less reliable than a cone on the cob, but I love hearing picks from Nick and Rob! No, 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 no!
Yes, it's Making Picks with Nick and Rob, and I've got the UFL standings. Let's here, let me remove that. Sorry. The standings right over here. We got the DC Defenders in the number 1 spot. St. Louis Battlehawks with the 4-2 record in the number 2 spot. Orlando Storm 4-2. Dallas Renegades 3-3. And that is it. The bad season that the Stallions are having, they are right there in it, going 2-4. Louisville Kings are technically in it as well, going 2-4. Aviators, Gamblers going 2-4. Everyone's in it, guys. We're in week 6, and this is one thing that the UFL was trying to prevent, especially with the conferences last year, is that 2 weeks from now, this thing would have been wrapped up, settled, and all the teams, we all already know which playoff spot they go to. But because they got rid of the conferences this year, we don't know who's going to make it to the spot. And I'll tell you what, as a Renegades fan, I'm quite nervous because 3 losses in a row going against the Stallions that are starting to feel a little confidence heading into it. I'm a little concerned for the Renegades and DTR and his performance last week. So we'll see how it turns out, especially with the picks. But the playoff chase is on. I think we got the Orlando Storm and the Renegades falling apart at the right time, allowing other teams to jump back in it. And who would have thought, you know, it's a new UFL, and at the end of the day, it's still the DC Defenders and the Battlehawks leading the charge. So, hey, good on you, Battlehawks. Great fan base over there, so I'm really happy for them, and DC Defenders fan base as well, too. So, very exciting for them that they're up at the top, but we'll see. I mean, I think we're starting to project towards that possible championship, especially where I see the weaknesses from the Orlando Storm and the Renegades. I think the championship's starting to look like it's going to become the DC Defenders and Battlehawks. I hope I'm wrong. Hope the Renegades can just turn it around, but I am getting quite nervous heading into the last 4 weeks. Looking at the standings, this is the standings between me and Rob, not the UFL, but I have a 3-game lead. Rob ended up actually catching up with me. He went 3 for 1. I went 2 for 2 because of my blind loyalty to the Renegades. It's starting to bite me, and he's starting to catch up as a result. I mean, we call it Homer Hour for a reason, and I'm going to keep on picking these guys to my chagrin, maybe to my defeat. And if I continue doing that, it's going to look really bad for me. Now, the one thing is, I know Rob, he has not done well picking the Stallions, but we'll see if it changes this week or if he even picks them. So we got the point spreads over here, and it looks like the Columbus Aviators have a... I'm sorry, the St. Louis Battlehawks over the Aviators. They're going to have a 3.5 point spread in the Battlehawks' favor, and I am going to go with the Battlehawks. I really like the direction that they're going, but I'll tell you what, the Aviators are freaking me out. If I was betting on the spread, I would go with the Aviators to actually beat the spread. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I would not count out these guys. I love what I'm seeing from McGlendon. The Aviators' defense seems to be improving, and we'll see how they compare with the Battlehawks. I'm going Battlehawks, and it looks like Rob is picking the same as well. He decided to go with the Battlehawks, so we're going to be the same on this end, and not much different over there. You got the Louisville Kings going against the DC Defenders, and the point spread's looking like an abysmal -10 our first. I believe, I could be wrong, that might be the first double-digit point spread for the UFL this year, and it's no surprise. Louisville Kings, not looking too good, especially their offensive line, and when you have a Blake Williams defense, they're going to get through and they're going to cause problems with Rodgers all game long. I'm going to go with the defenders, and there's a reason why it's a 10-point spread, and I think the defenders should be able to get this win. As for the cover, though, I don't know. 10 points is a lot. It's UFL. You can easily get trash points at the end, especially with the 4th and 15 rule. You can get the twofer. I wouldn't count out the Kings. Rodgers playing all right. He's doing okay. And if their offensive line is somewhat normal and they can run against the DC defenders, it might be close. But I just, as soon as you see double digits, my recommendation is to bet the underdog. 90% of the time, it seems to be working. Rob ended up going with the defenders as well. No surprise. I mean, it is a clean, easy win that I think the defenders should be able to pull off. And I expect, and so does Rob, apparently, that the Louisville Kings are going to have some trouble all week long. The next game that we got here is the Dallas Renegades. Oh, geez. I kind of wish they would take a break one week because it's just not looking good for them. And they are the favorite, I think, by 1.5. I'm sorry, my font's really small. But the Dallas Renegades are a favorite by 1.5 against the Stallions. Now, about week 3, if you told me that the Renegades were only favored by 1.5 against the Stallions, I would just be laughing at you because I just didn't think the Stallions were in the right direction. But this big pickup from DTR is going to cause issues, I think, for the Renegades. It is Homer Hour. I am going to make that pick, but I would not recommend placing a bet on the Renegades at all. Not on this game. Not on this one at all. And Rob is trying to zig while I'm zagging. He is going to be picking the Stallions. So this is a big game for the Nick and Rob Homer Hour. We'll see if the Stallions can end up helping Rob get another game closer. And it seems to be one that we have a difference on over there. And it's probably a safe bet, Rob, if you're listening, to always end up picking the Stallions or whoever the Renegades are playing against, because this is where you're probably going to get me all year long. Next one, we got the Orlando Storm. They're favored 4.5, and they're against the Houston Gamblers. And I'm going Storm. I just don't have much faith in the Gamblers, especially with the Henderson injury situation. I don't like the direction that I'm seeing from Henderson. If he's going to be hurt all the time, and it looks like it's just a bad year for Henderson. Even when he's healthy, he's kind of a gamble quarterback anyway, and the fact that he's hurt, I just don't like it. And if they're going to give the green sticker over to Tolley, I really don't like it. I just have not seen enough from Tolley to say that it's going to be good. So give me the Storm. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Storm, and it looks like Rob's going to agree on that one. So if you're looking at it just for standings on this show, it's coming down to the Stallions and Renegades, and Rob, he might take advantage of my homerism here. He very well might, because if the Stallions end up winning that's another game down for me. But we'll see. It's looking like a photo finish to the end, and I'm kind of excited to see how the picks turn out. We do have other sports, and I've got some content going on. Dallas is making the news out there, so I'm going to go ahead and transition over to other sports, and we're going to talk some Dallas sports. Okay, so Dallas is making the news in a weird way where a lot of people are complimenting the Joneses for the draft, and then a documentary just got released, ESPN, where they highlighted all the other teams and their war rooms and what exactly happened down on the draft. And I got to tell you, this has been a rumor going on. We've kind of already known it if you're a Cowboys fan. Jerry gets a lot of hate. He gets a ton of hate. He's got the 5th best record since his last Super Bowl to the rest of the NFL. Okay, he's got a winning record. All right. It's definitely not coaching because Jason Garrett, other than Bill Parcells, I mean, it's Jason Garrett, Wade Phillips, McCarthy. A lot of people criticize the coach picks that he ends up picking up. And he ends up still, for the most part, having winning records and making the playoffs. So where is Jerry getting his talent? And I'm telling you, since 2014, he actually has not been bad at the draft. He hasn't made any sort of ridiculous moves, bad moves that ends up hurting the team. And overall, for the most part, you're going to miss some Mozzie Smiths out there. It's going to happen. But for the most part, he's had enough talent to actually win football games. Now, I've got my problems with Jerry. I got a lot of problems with Jerry. But one of them isn't really the draft. He actually addresses it well. I think when you're talking about contracts and culture, he's one of the worst owners out there. But when it comes to the draft, he's hired on Will McClay to take over on scouting performance. And I think Will McClay has done a really wonderful job. And Stephen Jones, if you didn't believe it before, it's hard to disagree now because you see clips like this from the documentary where Stephen, it's not Jerry running the show, it's Stephen.
Dudes with 177, 180 if it's 2 5s. Okay, we got it. Fade in. Hold on, guys. Please be quiet.
Hello, Ken.
Hey, this is Steven.
Hey, Steven.
We're giving them our pick, number 12, and we're giving them 177, 180. Miami.
Okay, yep.
Are we good?
Yes. Yep.
Turn it in.
You have a deal.
Okay.
We're on the clock.
We're on the clock. They're turning it in. We got 10 seconds, 2 seconds.
Then it's us on the clock.
Then it's us
on the clock.
Better hurry up and get it in.
Dallas has submitted its pick. Miami is on the clock.
Caleb Downs.
I mean, hell, Steven even told everyone to shut up in the room because I got to make a phone call, including his dad. I mean, I could not believe what I saw over there, and I'm really happy if this is the case because the transition's happening, guys. Whenever Jerry passes away, we all know the results. It's going to be Stephen Jones in charge of it. And if they continue following what Will McClay has done so far in the scouting department and Stephen Jones, manhandling the draft like he is, I think we're going to be at least in good shape in that department. Now, I don't know about culture. I don't know anything about it. Jerry's still Jerry. I'm not denying that. But things like this actually got me really excited. It seems like he's handing over the reins to his son, and Steven did a wonderful job over there. And it's a good look because a lot of the Cowboy fans already knew this, but that documentary did a really good job at highlighting what we've been feeling for quite some time, that Stephen Jones is slowly but surely taking over the team. I don't think he's going to make the headlines that Jerry will ever make, but and nearly as exciting in that department. But Stephen Jones, it was a really fun look to see what it's like in the Cowboys war room. They're going to make them entertainment always, whether it's Steven or Jerry. I'm sure that's going to be the case. That's just what the Cowboys do. We're all about the glitz and the glam. And that's probably my biggest concern for the Cowboys is the culture. Fun fact, I'm doing a little project on talking about Caleb Downs being picked up and what that exactly means for the defense. And so after the UFL season, I do plan on making a beanie breakdown on what exactly this defense is going to look like and how a player like Caleb Downs is going to be helpful for it. So hope you guys like, subscribe. I'm going to try to produce some content to help dummies like me that don't know too much about coaching to break down these schemes and get a better understanding what exactly is going on in the NFL. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Should be coming here in the next 2 months, month or so. And whenever it gets produced, I hope you guys enjoy it. The other big news for the Dallas Mavericks, they ended up hiring a co-governor and president of basketball operations. Mazzy Yurdi ended up taking it over in that department. Dumont hired him, and I love it. I love the fact that, one, he's got credentials. He was responsible for the Toronto Raptors to end up winning that title. He got Leonard over to Toronto for that 1 year to go get that title, and he built a really solid team around him. So I like, especially the Raptors too, by the way. The Raptors were a dumpster fire until he took over and actually got that team a championship. So I like the fact that on a basketball side, he's a reasonable general manager that's taken over for the, not general manager, president of basketball operations, is taken over for the Mavericks. And another part that I really enjoy is the fact that he is co-governor. So if you guys watch this show, you know my stance when it comes to the Mavericks. I want everyone responsible for that Luka Doncic trade to be gone. Okay. And something that got me really excited is he's not guaranteeing a Jason Kidd job. And he said that in this press interview on his first day.
Conversation with Jason Kidd yesterday. I'm going to meet with Jason Kidd, hear his thoughts, on everything. Another Hall of Fame player. He's done a great job, but we're going to look at this thing from head to toe. That's the right way to look at an organization, evaluate in every single way that we can. But yeah, I talked to him, and I'm going to hear his thoughts on where he sees this. I had a conversation with Jason Kidd.
I love it. I love the fact that Jason Kidd could keep his job. I know he didn't say I'm firing the guy from the get-go, but he is not. No stone is going to be unturned. I think he's going to go through that. He is known for being a tough president that's going to just run through everything and make sure that everything's running swimmingly. And all the rats responsible for that Luka Doncic trade, I think he's going to sniff out and take care of and get him out of here, because Dumont, I think, read the tea leaves. Maverick fans are just done with him. They're done with everything to do with the Mavericks because of what a lot of people are considering possibly the worst trade in sports. From a Dallas perspective, by far the worst trade in sports in Dallas sports history. I'll tell you that. And I think he's understanding that the fan response is just really bad. So he went out, got Yuri, and he's hoping that he's going to change the culture around for this team. So I'm excited about it. We can start cheering for something different, and I think it's going to be a good setup for the Mavericks from here on out. So, yes, that is the only Dallas sports news I have. Yes, of course, the Stars ended up losing to the Minnesota Wild. And to put it bluntly, the Minnesota Wild was just a better team. They were beating us on the boards all game long, and we just could not stick with them on physicality when it comes to face-offs, when it comes to shots on goal, all throughout the series, even. The only thing that wasn't even was the fact that we just could not beat them on the board. So congratulations to the Minnesota Wild. I know the fan base is loving it because they really don't like the Dallas Stars, and I can't blame them. And we'll see how they do in the second round. But as for the Stars, they are out. And that about does it for this show today. And I'm glad for anyone that joined in, had a good time. This is, very new to me. I've never done a solo show, and hopefully won't have to anytime in the future. And hopefully Rob will be back next week. So if you're a big fan of Rob, don't worry. He's coming back. He's coming back next week, and it'll be back to the old ways on the show. But glad whoever decided to join in, even if it was for a tidbit. Thank you guys for joining in. And last part is, if you want to find us, you probably already see us on YouTube. You probably already see us on X. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow. We also have a TikTok. It's Nick and Rob Homer Hour. We have an Instagram. We even have a Blue Sky. Again, all of them are Nick and Rob Homer Hour. And feel free to give us a like button or anything like that to help us out. But in the meantime, it's over. I did it. And Rob should be back next week, and we'll see you guys then.